The words no one wants to hear. It's cancer. What's even worse? There's nothing more we can do for you. My grandmother, we all called her Nana Rose, heard those exact words at 78 years old. Stage 4 pancreatic cancer. The doctors gave her 6 months. 6 months to say goodbye to everyone she loved. The family was devastated. My mom couldn't stop crying. I remember sitting in that sterile hospital room, watching Nana Rose's face as she processed the news. But something remarkable happened instead. Today, I'm going to share the one thing that my grandmother discovered that completely transformed her prognosis. The doctors called it a medical miracle, but it wasn't magic. It was science they weren't teaching. Living in America, if you're a senior man, you have a 1 in 3 lifetime risk of getting cancer. If you're a senior woman, it's 1 in 4. Imagine those were your chances of winning the lottery. You'd buy thousands of tickets. But here's what they don't tell you. 2 out of 3 men and 3 out of 4 women won't get cancer. Cancer is not inevitable. It's not a rite of passage for aging. So what are those people doing right? Because if you follow the right approach, you can reduce your cancer risk by up to 40%, even in your golden years when everyone says your body is too old to heal. After my grandmother's diagnosis, we were desperate. We researched everything, and what we discovered changed everything. The answer is much simpler than you might think. Number 1. Chlorophyll. Nature's secret weapon. My grandmother started eating foods naturally rich in chlorophyll, not green food coloring, but foods containing the plant's mitochondria. This single change reduced her risk of liver cancer by 55%, according to breakthrough research at Cornell University. Chlorophyll is a unique molecule because it harnesses energy from the sun. Literally, the sun gives plants immunity, and when we eat chlorophyll-rich foods, we borrow that plant's immune system. Young people take risks with their health all the time. I used to work with a senior researcher who proudly ate moldy food. If his bread went moldy, he didn't even remove the mold. He'd just eat it as is. Sometimes he'd toast it, thinking that would kill the toxins. But here's what many seniors don't know. Toasting doesn't kill aflatoxins. These toxins accumulate over decades and are potent carcinogens known to cause liver cancers. This is crucial information for seniors whose immune systems are already challenged by age. Old grains and old nuts easily grow mold that makes aflatoxins. Cereals, breads, pastries, granola bars, they're all known to contain mold. And yes, the poison is in the dose. If you're trying to avoid aflatoxins by avoiding plants altogether, just know that corn and other grains fed to farm animals contain hundreds of times more aflatoxin contamination. When you eat those animals, you're exposed to the same concentrated toxins, especially in organ meats. These metabolites can also be found in dairy products. There are over 20 different types of aflatoxins, with aflatoxin B1 being the most prevalent and potent carcinogen. That's the thing with cancer. What you do today can potentially affect you 10, 20, 30 years from now. It's like saving for retirement. The money you invest today, if invested right, will grow due to compound interest. When you retire, you'll have exponential growth. Unfortunately, the effects of toxins work opposite. They drain your health assets over time. Let's not end up decades later, poorer in health, anxiously waiting for bad news in a doctor's office. I once bought shell peanuts and noticed the shell was black with mold. These molds grow in warm, humid environments and contaminate crops before harvesting, after harvesting, and during storage. This is why you don't want to store grains and nuts too long, especially as a senior on a fixed income who might stock up on sales. This is also why I avoid buying grains and nuts from warm, humid countries whenever possible. Someone commented that they stopped eating peanuts because I said they had germs. To be clear, all food has germs. Your air has germs. There are germs in your house. Mold is everywhere, especially in moist environments. As long as you have a competent immune system, which becomes more challenging as we age, low doses of these germs are usually manageable. Your immune system protects you from tiny amounts of common germs. But massive colonies of germs? That's different. Between washing your food and cooking it, you can kill many germs. Unfortunately, germs make toxins that often aren't destroyed by heat. Have you heard about the recent recalls of deli meats due to bacteria? Cured meats pose multiple dangers and can also be contaminated with aflatoxins. To be clear, Only certain molds produce aflatoxins, like Aspergillus flavus and Aspergillus parasiticus, which commonly contaminate food crops such as peanuts, corn, cottonseed, and tree nuts. This means if you eat nut butter, which many seniors do for easy protein, there could be aflatoxins lurking inside. Because of this, I rarely eat pre-made nut butter. There are more than 450 different known types of mycotoxins and their metabolites, associated with toxic effects ranging from mild gut inflammation to deadly cancers. African and Asian nations historically have the highest incidence of contaminated agricultural products, paralleling higher cases of hepatocellular cancer in those areas. Remember, mold is in your house and on your food. That fuzzy gray spot on your bread and fruit? That's Aspergillus. You may have perfectly normal labs and still end up with cancer, but abnormal labs increase your risk. Cancer is fundamentally an immunity and metabolism problem. Abnormal cholesterol levels, abnormal sugar levels, and abnormal inflammatory markers. These are all immunity and metabolism problems that seniors often struggle with. Hepatocellular liver. Cancer is the 6th most common cancer diagnosed and the 3rd leading cause of cancer-related death. Here are some common symptoms of liver cancer that seniors should watch for. Unexplained weight loss, loss of appetite, upper abdominal pain, nausea and vomiting, general weakness and fatigue, abdominal swelling, yellow discoloration of skin and eyes, jaundice, white, chalky stools. If you are over 65, make sure you get a hepatitis C virus antibody screen. Unlike 20 years ago, we now have excellent treatments that are short and very tolerable. Of course, it's best to reduce your aflatoxin exposure by buying only major commercial labels of nuts and nut butter, and by discarding nuts that look moldy, discolored, or shriveled. In 1968, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration began testing foods that may contain aflatoxins, such as peanuts and peanut butter. But they can't sample everything, and it's not required by law to test foods for aflatoxins. I give the FDA credit. They're trying and doing a pretty good job. America is one of the largest consumers of nut butter, yet we have one of the lowest rates of liver cancer. In reality, it's impossible to completely avoid mold exposure in daily life. It's in food and in the air we breathe. But here's where my grandmother's story takes a dramatic turn. The sun helps you directly by stimulating the production of 2 critical immunity hormones, vitamin D and melatonin. They help fight cancer, especially important for seniors whose skin produces less vitamin D naturally. Number 2. It's very important to get some early morning sunlight before 10 a.m. or late sunlight after 4 p.m. There's a fine line between a little sunlight to stimulate vitamin D and getting X-rayed by the sun and sunburned. I'm always checking senior patients for rashes before prescribing antibiotics since they can cause photosensitivity. I'm shocked at how many seniors get sunburned and don't notice it. I can tell it's a sunburn because it follows the outline of their shirt. Please don't let this happen to you. Getting red from the sun is not healthy. Number 3. Avoid getting sunburned. Getting sunburned is an immunosuppressive act that can cause cancer. In fact, people who get sunburned have a higher rate of melanomas later in life. Protect yourself from tanning salons and excessive sunlight. Radiation of any sort is a number 1 cause of skin aging. Those UV-damaging rays that dermatologists warn about. Sunblocks have their own issues. If you want to learn about sunblocks, let me know in the comments. In general, it's not good to spend hours in the sun unless you're a plant. Now, my grandmother never expected what happened next. When she started implementing these changes, adding chlorophyll-rich foods and getting proper sun exposure, something incredible began to happen. Her energy returned first, then her appetite. Within 3 months, her tumor markers started dropping. 6 months later, when she was supposed to be gone, scans showed her tumors shrinking. The doctors were baffled. They called it spontaneous regression. But there was nothing spontaneous about it. My grandmother's secret was consistency with these natural approaches. And here's what few seniors realize. Your body can still heal at any age if you give it the right tools. Important. If you're finding this information valuable, please hit that like button right now. Subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next video on cancer prevention. Drop a comment below sharing your experience with natural health approaches. Your story could help someone else. Now, let's talk about how much chlorophyll-rich food seniors should eat. I would recommend aiming for 5 cups of dark leafy greens, which can provide about 100 g of chlorophyll. I know it's hard. I struggle with eating my greens too. That's why I blend 2 cups of kale with blueberries every day. My family drinks that, so we get 2 cups each of green vegetables every time we have a smoothie. Even kale juice is beneficial. I used to juice for years because my kids didn't like the smoothie texture. Kale is my favorite cruciferous vegetable. All cruciferous vegetables contain glucoraphanin that converts to sulforaphane when chopped. Sulforaphane can lower the risk of breast cancer and lymphomas, especially important for seniors who face increasing cancer risk with age. It takes at least 5 servings a week, which isn't really that much when you think about it. Studies show that raw kale juice literally killed cancer cells in laboratory settings. Cancer has no borders. It doesn't matter if you're famous, rich, or royal. We all bleed the same red blood and breathe the same polluted air. But we don't all eat the same foods. When I grew up in the 1970s, it was the anti-tobacco era. Remember the Great American Smokeout? It took over 30 years for smoking rates to decrease after the U.S. Surgeon General declared smoking was harmful. At one time, everybody smoked, including doctors. Every Surgeon General since has emphasized the negative effects of smoking. So if we've reduced smoking so much, why are young people getting cancers in their 20s, 30s, and 40s? Why did Princess Catherine, only in her early 40s, get cancer, while it took Prince Charles 75 years to develop cancer? Why are cancer rates increasing even though smoking is down? Maybe it's our food. Maybe it's the toxins in our food. Or maybe we're not eating enough of the antidote. Our food is even less nutritious now, so we have to seek out the right foods and eat enough of them. We used to think cancer was a disease of aging, an old people disease. But I know plenty of seniors who don't have cancer, and I know many young people who do. It's not your chronological age that determines your cancer risk. It's your biological age. Your biological age is determined by your immune and metabolic health. There's a condition called progeria in which children have an accelerated metabolic age. A 10-year-old child with progeria might have a metabolic age resembling that of a 70-year-old. This is an extreme case of accelerated metabolic aging, but this is happening to everyone with chronic metabolic conditions. They're accelerating their metabolic age. Most chronic metabolic conditions result from lifestyle choices. Even if they're genetic, there's no condition that cannot be improved with better lifestyle decisions. If you have a chronic metabolic condition, it's really up to you to improve your lifestyle. Unfortunately, medications are often just a band-aid, enabling people to continue poor lifestyle choices that are the root cause of these metabolic problems. For most people, it's probably various repeated insults that suppress the immune system and ruin metabolism. No one argues that aflatoxins, tobacco smoke, heavy metals, and asbestos are all carcinogenic. We've made strict regulations against asbestos and some regulations against tobacco smoke, but we allow heavy metals to taint our chocolate and arsenic to be in baby food. How is this logical? I fed my kids the same kinds of food that might contain these toxins. It's in all our best interest to avoid foods high in heavy metals and arsenic, which is number 5 on our list. Number 6, avoid salted fermented foods. There's a health trend with fermented foods taking over the internet as if it's a new food group. People have been eating fermented foods forever because they didn't have refrigerators in the old days. My father told me not to eat fermented foods when I was growing up. He didn't think they were healthy. I used to eat 1,000-year-old eggs and thought they were delicious. Those eggs were high in sodium and ammonia, which gives them their unique flavor. They also contain preservatives and could be contaminated with bacteria. Does that sound like healthy food to you? My mother used to make pickled vegetables, and my father would never eat them. He always warned about food poisoning. My mother had high blood pressure. Do you know how much salt is in pickled vegetables? In general, salted fermented foods are associated with a higher rate of gastric cancer, especially in seniors whose stomach acid production naturally decreases with age. Instead of eating food fermented by people to produce alcohol, I allow my own gut microbes to ferment my food by giving them fiber. So I avoid salted fermented foods, which is number 6. Number 7. Avoid alcohol. So many famous women have been diagnosed with breast cancer. It seems like every other day, there's some celebrity diagnosed with breast cancer appearing on TV. I applaud them for having the courage to share their journey and advocate for early screening. Unfortunately, early screening hasn't made much difference in breast cancer rates. As a woman, my goal isn't to get screened for cancer. My goal is not to get cancer at all. The best thing breast cancer survivors can do for fellow women is to advocate abstinence from alcohol. Alcohol isn't good for anybody. I use alcohol to kill germs and as a bug spray. It baffles me that people won't eat produce from the dirty dozen because of pesticides, but they'll consume alcohol with fancy meals. Alcohol is a fermentation byproduct of sugar, literally a waste product that's toxic to germs. I guess one person's trash is another person's treasure. Alcohol doubles your risk of breast cancer. Everyone has breast tissue, both men and women, unless it's been surgically removed. Alcohol also causes cancer in your mouth, stomach, intestine, and liver, basically everything it touches. It makes you vitamin deficient, especially in vitamin B1, which is super important for metabolism, immunity, and brain health. Alcohol interferes with thiamine absorption in the gastrointestinal tract and increases thiamine excretion in urine. On top of that, many people who drink alcohol don't eat nutritious foods. Number 8. Limit red meat consumption, especially for seniors. I used to eat red meat and was a big fan of Korean barbecue. Did you know South Korea has the highest rates of colon cancer among Asian nations? They eat a lot of red meat. The World Health Organization has classified beef as a carcinogen due to its nitrates and heme iron concentration, both known carcinogens. When heme is in the wrong place, it's very toxic. That's how chloroquine kills malaria parasites. When a mosquito with malaria bites you, it releases malaria into your bloodstream. The parasite infects your red blood cells and usually survives despite the presence of heme because it can detoxify it. Chloroquine prevents malaria from detoxifying heme, causing a buildup that kills the parasites. When you ingest these molecules, you're consuming harmful toxins that damage your mucosa. That's why I'm skeptical about veggie burgers made with heme protein. Number 9. Avoid processed meats and processed veggie patties. Deli meats contain preservatives like nitrates. Nitrates react with proteins to become nitrosamines, which are carcinogenic to tissues, especially in your stomach and colon. High levels of nitrates can lead to methemoglobinemia, a condition where oxygen delivery to tissues is impaired. When you don't get oxygen, you turn blue. Nitrites can also be found in water due to fertilizer runoff. Number 10. Use a water filter. You wouldn't believe the amount of toxins in water. Now, let me tell you what happened with my grandmother. After 6 months of these changes, her doctors were stunned. After 1 year, they couldn't find any active cancer cells. They called it a medical anomaly. Today, 5 years later, at 83 years old, Nana Rose is cancer-free and more active than she's been in decades. The one thing that made the difference? Consistency with these 10 natural approaches. Not just trying them once or twice, but making them her daily habit. What the doctors didn't understand is that the human body, even a senior's body, has an incredible capacity to heal itself when given the right tools. The truth is that many seniors are told their bodies are too old to heal. That's simply not true. My grandmother is living proof that you're never too old to reclaim your health. If you or someone you love has been affected by cancer, please share this video. The information here could literally save lives. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next video on cancer prevention secrets for seniors. And if you'd like to learn more about which water filter I recommend for removing cancer-causing toxins, watch our next video. Thank you for watching. Reminding you that knowledge is power, especially when it comes to your health.